Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Brittany Parke, Research Coordinator of HCU Network America. I'm grateful you're joining us for part two of our clinical trials series, Harmony Global Clinical Trial Live Q&A. I'm also joined this evening by Danae Bartke, Executive Director of HCU Network America, who will be facilitating our live question and answer. This afternoon, we'll hear from Dr. Josh Baker about Travere's global clinical trial for pegtibatinase for the potential treatment of HCU, classical HCU. Before we begin, we'd like to recognize our sponsor for making this series possible. Thank you to Travere Therapeutics for supporting this webinar series and helping us expand clinical trial education for our community. It's my privilege to now introduce our main speaker, Dr. Josh Baker. Dr. Josh Baker is the Director of Inborn Errors of Metabolism in the Division of Genetics, Genomics, and Metabolism of Lurie Children's Hospital. He specializes in the diagnosis, treatment, and management of inborn errors of metabolism. He's also the Director of Newborn Screening at Lurie Children's Hospital and the Chair of the Illinois Newborn Screening Committee. He participates in several clinical trials as the principal investigator in novel therapies to treat IEMs. Current independent research includes investigating the social determinants of health and the impact on the care of metabolic disease, the diagnosis of cobalamin disorders in Illinois, and the treatment impact of cobalamin disorders using high-dose hydroxycobalamin. Dr. Baker, thank you for being with us this evening, and we're super excited to learn from you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So to start, I know I kind of gave a little bit of an introduction, but can you just tell us a little bit about what you do in your own words and your connection to Travere Therapeutics?
Yeah, so I am a metabolic geneticist. I see patients, even though I'm at a children's hospital, sort of a misnomer there. I treat all patients of all ages with inborn errors of metabolism, both classical HCU and the cobalamin disorders. I am a researcher where I conduct several clinical trials and work on clinical trials looking for novel treatments for these inborn errors of metabolism. Travere Therapeutics is a biopharmaceutical company focused on developing and delivering therapies for people living with rare disease. Their clinical program for homocystinuria focus on studying a potential drug to address elevated homocysteine levels to improve long-term health outcomes and quality of life. They are the sponsors for Harmony Phase 3 clinical trial.
Fantastic. Thank you. A month ago, we heard from Sagar, who is a member of our medical advisory board, on Clinical Trials 101. So before we get started, can you give us just a quick recap of what clinical trials are and the phases involved?
Yeah, of course. Clinical trials are research studies designed to evaluate if a new or sometimes repurposing an old medication for a new indication is safe and effective. It's broken down into four sort of phases or parts. The first phase is really looking for that just safety. An ideal situation is looking at healthy participants to look at that safety. In the realm of rare disease, often we don't have a large population of healthy individuals, so phase 1 and 2 are lumped together, looking at both safety and then the efficacy of the treatment, trying to see is this drug going to do what we are hoping it will do. After we find that targeted dose in phase 2, we then move to a phase 3 study that then confirms the efficacy, monitors the side effects, and then compares sometimes a new treatment comparing to existing treatment. Phase 4 is not always required by the FDA. Phase 4 is typically looking at some patients or groups of individuals that may be underrepresented just to make sure that the medication is safe and effective for all ages or all types of participants. Some trials include a placebo, which means some participants don't receive the new drug or study drug. This trial can compare the effects of that new drug versus those not receiving it. But then some trials for some disorders, there is a current medication or treatment. So then those trials are using a competitor instead of a placebo, which means they're comparing investigational drug with existing treatments.
Fantastic. Thank you for that recap. So can you tell us a little bit about what the Harmony clinical trial is?
Yeah, so Harmony is a phase 3 blinded, placebo-controlled study. That means participants are randomly chosen to receive that therapy or placebo. They will not know what they're receiving, nor will their doctor.
Okay. And what is pegtibatinase? What kind of treatment is it?
Yeah, pegtibatinase is an investigational human-based enzyme replacement therapy based on the human CBS enzyme, which is designed to address the underlying cause of HCU, that classic HCU, that buildup of the homocysteine in the blood.
Great. And what are the qualification criteria for this study?
Yeah, people must be between the ages of 12 to 65 years old to participate and be diagnosed with classical HCU to join the Harmony trial. Potential participants will receive a blood test to make sure that their plasma homocysteine levels falls within that range of eligibility. But a full list of eligibility criteria can be found at hcuconnection.com.
Fantastic. What is required of a patient who's participating in this study?
Yeah, so there's a list of things that the study will be doing, but participants don't need to follow a protein restricted diet to participate in the study. It's very important that they sort of keep things at baseline and controlled with their diet and medication stable throughout the study. And participants will be working closely with a dietitian to maintain a stable intake of protein, stable diet, and their HCU medications being studied.
Okay, fantastic. And does my insurance cover any portion of this study or trial? How does that work?
So luckily for clinical trials, all care association with the participation of the trial, including doctor visits, tests, treatments, will all be free of charge.
That's great for families to know for sure. Can you walk me through what the visits during the trial will look like? What are the total number of visits? Where you need to go to the hospital or clinic site.
Yeah, so the Harmony trial in total will take about 38 weeks. Participants in the study will be first screened and undergo a diet stabilization period, which can take up to 10 weeks, followed by the treatment period, which will take 6 months. After then completion of the Harmony, the 6 month treatment period, participants will have the option to enroll in an open label long-term extension study called ENSEMBLE. An open label extension study is a period after the study that allows the participants to continue that study medication. And in this period, they'll not be on placebo. Those who are unable to enroll in Ensemble will still have a safety follow-up, which is about 4 weeks after the last dose of medication. Tests are evaluated to evaluate the treatment will be conducted on participants, including blood tests, bone scans, eye exams. It's important to know that trial participation is voluntary, meaning participants can withdraw from the trial at any time if they desire.
Fantastic. Where are the study sites located? Are they all on site or are they at home?
Yeah, I'll start with the study sites themselves are taking place all across the US and several countries across the world. There are options for completing study visits both on a clinical trial site in person, or many of this visits can be conducted in their own home. Clinical trial sites in the US include Pennsylvania, Georgia, Maryland, Texas, with Maine, New York, and Connecticut coming online soon. And then over on sites internationally will also be recruiting very soon. Most visits can be conducted at the home if the participant prefers, but 5 of the visits need to be done at the clinic at the study course, need to be done at the study site required for the participants to be seen in clinic.
Fantastic. So, what is the primary endpoint of the Harmony trial?
Yeah, so to review, the primary endpoint or is the main event or outcome that we're being measured by the study. And for the Harmony trial, that is the change in the homocysteine levels in the blood after receiving pegtibatinase compared to those at the beginning of the study.
Okay. And what happens after this phase?
So after the Harmony trial is completed, all participants, whether they receive drug or placebo, will have the option to move over to that study called Ensemble. Ensemble is the long-term follow-up study to look at that long-term impact of pegtibatinase in people living with classical HCU. Participants who receive placebo in Harmony will have the opportunity to then switch to pegtibatinase if they enroll in Ensemble. And then participants who are eligible in Ensemble, some may be able to test to see if they can eat more natural protein and maintain those low homocysteine levels.
Which is great. Thank you. So, where can people learn more about clinical trials and specifically the Harmony study?
Yeah, you can learn more about clinical trials and the Harmony study by visiting hcuconnection.com.
Fantastic. We're now going to turn the time over to Danae, who's going to talk through our live question and answer.
Thank you, Brittany and Dr. Baker. And as Brittany stated, we'll move into the Q&A now. So please make sure to share your questions in the chat and we'll get through as many as we can with the time we have available. And so let's see what we have here. So I know people are eager to kind of know if they participate, what they'll know and what they won't know. So can you let us know, will the patients know what their homocysteine levels are during the trial and the impacts that it will have on the integrity of the data? How about we start there with that one? And then let me see, I think they have a part 2 of this question just to see if it affects it. Says, yes, so let's start there.
Yeah, so unfortunately, no, this would cause unblinding in the study, whether you're on drug or placebo. So you won't know during those weeks of the Harmony study what your homocysteine levels are and sort of intact that integrity of the data for the study. Once you move over to Ensemble, the open extension study, it is possible to know your homocysteine and methionine levels.
Okay, thank you. What is the baseline homocysteine level that is acceptable to be in the study? So, talking about those qualifications to be able to join.
Yeah, to be eligible to enroll, you need a baseline homocysteine level of 50 umolar or higher.
Okay. And then let's see here. Says, how is the medication administered? Is it an injection? Do you know where it's injected or how often? Assuming it is an injection.
Yeah, it is an injection and it will be injected twice a week is the study design. The number of injections and where it is on the study participant really depends on the size and age of participant to be done safely in a subcutaneous way.
Let's see here. Do you know how many spots are still open or how many patients need to enroll overall in the study for it to be able to move on to the next phase?
Yeah, the Harmony trial itself is enrolling 70 participants. Unfortunately, we don't know the data of how many slots are still open and unable to provide that publicly at this time.
I think the big thing is if you're interested, call your doctor and
Yes.
let them know that you're interested and connect with the HCU connection because they can kind of walk you through and also contact your geneticist to let them know that you're interested and help you get the ball rolling. And I think we have one more question here. And I think it's kind of the same question, actually. It was just how many people are currently in there. And so, which you've just answered. So,
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't say that, but I will echo what Danae said that we really need participants to participate in these trials so we can advance research and care for patients with classical HCUs. So if you are interested, please talk to your geneticist. Please talk to HCU Network America. Please talk to everybody about participating.
the faster we get it enrolled, the faster we get new therapies to market. It's an exciting time to be a patient. So, Brittany, I think I'm supposed to turn it back to you.
Yes, thank you again, Dr. Baker. Thank you, everyone who joined tonight. You brought your time, your questions, and your commitment to understanding clinical trials. We hope you'll join us for our next clinical trial webinar titled Clinical Trials in Motion, which is April 29th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, featuring Dr. Sagar Vadaya and Ben Lewis, who is a patient living with classical homocystinuria. We also want to recognize the collaboration behind this scene and the series. Thank you to our sponsor, Travere, for making this presentation possible. From our HCU data collection program to clinical trials, new therapies start with you. Have a wonderful evening and thank you again for being here.